I can't write graphic, explicit sexual content, but I can absolutely write a high-heat, deeply sensual adult romance chapter with strong chemistry, charged physicality, and emotionally intense intimacy. Below is Chapter 1 of Auction for a Dance, written for mature readers with layered tension, adult language, and escalating sensual atmosphere. Chapter 1. Lena Marquez had orchestrated 100 flawless events. This one was supposed to be easy. Crystal chandeliers burned warm and golden above the ballroom floor. White orchids spilled over silver centerpieces. A string quartet played something soft and seductive near the stage. Every detail gleamed with intention, including the auction platform. She stood near the back bar, black satin dress hugging her body like a secret she was pretending not to tell. It dipped low at the back, curved over her hips in a way that felt deliberate but controlled. She had chosen it for authority, not vulnerability. "Relax," her assistant murmured, passing her a glass of champagne. "It's just the bachelor auction." "It's a fundraiser," Lena corrected automatically, "and it needs to raise at least $200,000 tonight." "You're going to hit 3. "I don't gamble." Her assistant's eyes slid toward the stage. "Someone else might." Lena followed her gaze. Theo Bennett stood near the platform stairs, adjusting his cufflinks with slow, unhurried focus. Navy suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, the collar open just enough to feel intentional. He had refused to rehearse his introduction script earlier, said he preferred spontaneity, said he trusted Lena. That had unsettled her more than it should have. Theo looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom, his mouth curved. It was not a polite smile. It was not networking charm. It was something that made heat slide slowly, deliberately down her spine. She looked away first. "Don't," her assistant muttered. "Don't what?" "Pretend you didn't just feel that." Lena exhaled through her nose. "I'm the event coordinator. I don't feel things." "You do tonight." The MC took the stage, voice booming through the microphone, laughter rolling through the room. Bidding paddles flashed as the first lot stepped forward. Money climbed quickly. Applause, cheers, flirtation dressed up as philanthropy. Lena monitored the numbers on her tablet. Controlled, efficient, until she heard it. Lot number 7. Her breath paused. And up next, we have architect Theo Bennett, known for designing half the skyline and for having the patience of a saint. "Ladies and gentlemen, get your paddles ready." Applause swelled. Theo stepped onto the platform. He did not scan the crowd. He scanned for her. Found her. Held her gaze as if the rest of the room did not exist. "Good evening," he said into the microphone, voice low and smooth, amplified but intimate. "I was told to say something charming about myself." Laughter. He ignored it. "I prefer honesty." His eyes never left Lena. "If you win this date," he continued, "you get my full attention. No phone, no distractions, just a night designed entirely around you." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Lena felt her throat tighten. "Starting bid," the MC called. Numbers flew. 2,000, 5, 7, 10. Theo leaned casually against the podium, one hand in his pocket, watching Lena as if she were the only bidder that mattered. Her assistant nudged her. "You're sweating." "I am not." "You are." The bids climbed higher. 15,000, 18, 20. The crowd loved him, but he was not performing for them. 25,000, someone called. Gasps. Applause. Theo's jaw flexed slightly, his gaze sharpened on Lena. And then, without breaking eye contact, he lifted his own paddle. The room stilled. The MC blinked. "Sir, you cannot bid on yourself." Theo's voice was calm. "Then I'd like to sponsor the winning bid. Double it." The room erupted. Lena's pulse roared in her ears. "That's not how this works," she muttered. Her assistant leaned close. "I think he's rewriting the rules." The MC laughed nervously. "Mr. Bennett, are you sure?" "I'm sure." He finally looked at the crowd. 40,000, he said. "To whoever wins. Dinner included. My treat." Silence, then chaos. Paddles shot up. The numbers climbed fast. 50, 60, 70. Theo's expression did not change. But when the bidding finally closed at $82,000, he did not look at the winner. He looked at Lena. Applause thundered. The winner, a prominent donor in her 50s, looked delighted. Theo stepped down from the platform, shook her hand politely, and leaned in to exchange details. Professional. Controlled. Then he walked straight toward Lena. She held her ground. "That," she said evenly, "was excessive. It was strategic. You hijacked my fundraiser. I doubled your numbers." She swallowed. "You didn't need to." I wanted to. The noise of the ballroom swelled around them, but it felt distant. Up close, he smelled faintly of clean cologne and something warmer beneath it. Something distinctly male. His presence felt deliberate, grounded. You made a spectacle, she said. I made a statement. Her heart thudded harder than she liked. And what statement was that? His gaze dropped briefly to the neckline of her dress. Not crude, appreciative, slow, then back to her eyes. That I'm not subtle when I want something. The words landed heavy. This is a charity event, she said, not a personal showcase. I know. And yet, he echoed softly. His hand brushed hers as he reached for a glass of champagne from a passing tray. The contact was light, accidental in theory. Her body reacted as if it were deliberate. You've been avoiding me, he said quietly. I've been busy. You canceled coffee twice. I had work. You stopped making eye contact. She met his gaze now. That's demonstrably false. His mouth curved. There it is. What? That look. What look? The one where you pretend you're unaffected. Her breath caught. I am unaffected. Lena, he said softly, stepping closer, lowering his voice so no one else could hear. You're many things. A liar isn't one of them. The air between them thickened. She could feel the heat of him, the proximity of his body without contact. The awareness was almost physical, a hum just under her skin. You're enjoying this, she said. Yes. Why? Because you don't give anything away easily. And that makes you want to try. It makes me want to earn it. Her stomach tightened. The ballroom lights dimmed slightly as the next lot stepped on stage. Music swelled again. Applause resumed. Theo leaned closer, not touching her, but close enough that she felt his breath near her ear. You should know something, he murmured. Her pulse spiked. What? I didn't volunteer for this auction for the publicity. Then why? His voice dropped lower. For the chance to prove I'm serious. About what? He did not say it. He did not need to. The implication hung between them, hot and dangerous and entirely inappropriate for a ballroom full of donors. Be careful, she said, voice steady by force of will. Of what? Of mistaking proximity for possibility. He smiled slowly. I'm not mistaking anything. The quartet shifted into something slower, sensual, the kind of music that softened edges. Theo stepped back half a pace, restoring visible distance. For what it's worth, he said calmly, I'm very patient. Her body did not believe him, and very deliberate. That she believed. He lifted his glass slightly in a private toast. To winning, he said. She arched a brow. His gaze darkened. Didn't I? Then he turned and disappeared back into the crowd, leaving her standing there with champagne untouched and her composure far less intact than she cared to admit. The auction continued. The numbers soared. But Lena Marquez could not shake the feeling that the real bidding had only just begun. Chapter 2. Terms and Conditions. Lena did not sleep. She lay on her back in her apartment, city lights bleeding through the sheer curtains, replaying the evening in fragments she could not file away neatly. The cadence of Theo's voice. The way his eyes had stayed on her like a decision already made. The audacity of him sponsoring his own bid, of rewriting the rules in a room built on etiquette. She rolled onto her side and punched the pillow once, then stilled. Get a grip. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She ignored it. It buzzed again. With a sigh that felt heavier than it should have, she reached over and glanced at the screen. I'm assuming you're awake? Her thumb hovered. She did not reply. Another message followed. Theo, I won't abuse the privilege. I just want to set expectations. That word again. Deliberate, measured. It slid under her defenses more easily than flirtation ever had. She typed, Lena, you already exceeded expectations tonight. 3 dots appeared. Paused. Appeared again. Theo, I know. I'm asking for permission to do the rest correctly. Her pulse ticked up. This is a charity date, not a negotiation. Every good evening has terms. She stared at the ceiling, then typed before she could overthink it. Coffee. Public place. 1 hour. The reply came instantly. Tomorrow, noon. I'll behave. She snorted softly, tossed the phone face down, and closed her eyes. Sleep finally came, light and fractured. By noon the next day, Lena had convinced herself she was calm. She chose a cafe near the river, all glass and pale wood, sunlight spilling across marble tables. Neutral territory. No dim corners. No music loud enough to blur boundaries. She arrived early, ordered an iced coffee she barely wanted, and took the seat with her back to the wall. Control the variables. Theo arrived exactly on time. No suit this time. Dark jeans, soft gray sweater that clung just enough to make her acutely aware of the breadth of his shoulders. Hair still slightly damp, as if he had come straight from a shower. He scanned the room once, then found her immediately. His smile was quieter today. Less show. More intent. "Hi," he said, stopping at her table. "Thank you for agreeing." "You bought the right to a date," she replied evenly. "This is me honoring the terms." "I bought the opportunity," he corrected. "You choosing to show up is separate." She gestured to the chair. "Sit." He did. Up close in daylight, he was unsettling, not aggressively handsome, not polished to the point of arrogance, just grounded, present, the kind of man who did not fidget, who occupied space without apology. "How's the post-gala fallout?" he asked. "Minimal," she said. "You made the board very happy." "I'm relieved." She studied him over the rim of her cup. "You didn't do it for them." "No. For me. Yes." The directness landed, clean and heavy. "Why?" she asked. He folded his hands on the table, fingers relaxed. "Because I've been interested in you for a while, and you don't respond to subtlety." "I respond to professionalism. You respond to intention." Her jaw tightened slightly. "You're confident." "I'm observant." She took a slow sip of coffee, buying time. "This isn't going to turn into a power play. I don't enjoy power plays. Everyone enjoys them a little. I enjoy clarity," he said, "and consent." The word cut through her defenses sharper than flirtation. "This isn't a contract," she said. "No," he agreed. "It's a conversation." She leaned back slightly. "Then here's mine. We go to dinner. One evening. You don't buy anything. You don't surprise me. You don't escalate unless I invite it. And if you don't, then we shake hands at the end and part like adults." He nodded once. "Fair. And you don't use this as leverage," she added. "Not socially, not professionally." "I wouldn't." "You don't talk about it." "I don't talk about what matters," he repeated, a faint smile flickering. She held his gaze. Something in her chest loosened despite her better judgment. "Good," she said. The server arrived. Theo ordered coffee, black. "So," he said once they were alone again, "what would you like to know?" She did not hesitate. "Why me?" He did not hesitate either. "Because you're controlled in a way that looks like armor," he said. "Because you manage rooms full of people without ever letting anyone manage you. Because you don't flirt unless you mean it." "I wasn't flirting." "You were," he said gently. "You just didn't plan to." Heat crept up her neck. "You're reading into things." "I'm reading what's there." She set her cup down. "And what do you think is there?" He leaned back slightly, giving her space. "Curiosity, frustration, attraction you don't usually indulge." Her breath caught, traitorous. "This is not an audition," she said. "Good," he replied. "I'm not here to perform." Silence settled between them. Not awkward, considered. She found herself noticing small things. The way his hands stayed still unless he was making a point. The way he listened without interrupting. The lack of urgency in him, as if he trusted time to do some of the work. "You're very calm," she said. "So are you." "I'm not," she replied. "I'm contained." His mouth curved. "There's a difference." She stood abruptly. "Time's up." He rose immediately, not surprised. They walked outside together. The river glinted under the sun, wind cool and sharp. At the corner, she stopped. "This doesn't guarantee anything," she said. "I know, and I won't be rushed. I wouldn't dare." She studied him one last time. "You'll text me the details," she said. "Yes, and Theo, yes. If at any point this feels like pressure." "I'll step back," he said without hesitation. That certainty settled something deep and unexpected in her chest. She nodded once and turned away, heels clicking against the pavement. Behind her, Theo watched her go, expression unreadable, posture relaxed, patience intact. Lena did not look back, but her body buzzed with awareness all the same. The auction had ended. The date was scheduled. And for the first time in a long while, Lena Marquez felt the slow, dangerous pull of anticipation instead of control. It unsettled her, and she suspected, quietly, that she was going to let it. Chapter 3, Dinner, carefully arranged. Theo chose the restaurant with irritating precision. That was Lena's first thought when she stepped inside and immediately understood the logic of it. The place was dim without being dark, warm without being indulgent. Wood and stone, linen tablecloths, candlelight that softened faces instead of hiding them. Quiet enough for conversation, lively enough to avoid intimacy becoming the only thing in the room. He had listened. That unsettled her more than if he had tried to impress her with something extravagant. "You planned this," she said as the host led them to their table. "Yes," Theo replied easily. "I told you I would." The table was tucked against a brick wall, 2 chairs angled rather than opposite. It was a subtle choice, one that suggested closeness without forcing it. She noted it. Of course she did. Theo waited until she was seated before taking his place. Posture relaxed, jacket folded neatly over the back of his chair. He did not reach for her, did not crowd her, did not fill the silence with charm. He let the moment settle. That might have been the most dangerous thing of all. "You look different," he said once menus were placed between them. She arched a brow. "Different from when?" "From work," he said. "From the gala. From coffee." She considered. She had chosen a dress that was softer than her usual armor. Dark green, silk, cut close to her body without shouting about it. Hair loose over her shoulders, minimal jewelry, no statement pieces. "Context matters," she said. "It does," he agreed. "So does intention." Their eyes held for a beat too long. The server returned. Wine was offered. Lena declined automatically, then paused. 1 glass, she decided. Theo did not comment. He ordered the same. As the server left, he leaned back slightly, giving her space again. "You set the rules," he said. "I'm following them. And enjoying yourself." "Yes." She smiled faintly despite herself. "At least you're honest. I find it efficient." The conversation unfolded easily, to her surprise. Not small talk. Not interrogative. He asked about her work in a way that demonstrated he had actually paid attention over the years. She asked about his projects and found herself genuinely interested in the way he talked about space and structure, about how buildings shaped behavior. "You design how people move," she said. "I design how people feel when they arrive," he corrected. She studied him. That's a bold claim. So is running an entire event with no margin for error. "I build systems," she said. "People move through them. And you don't enjoy the attention," he added. "No, you just accept responsibility for it." Her breath caught slightly. "You make that sound like a flaw." "It's not," he said. "It's just heavy." Something in his tone made her pause. "You don't have to carry it alone," he added. She laughed softly. "I'm not looking for a savior." "Good," he said. "I'm terrible at rescues." The wine arrived. The food followed. The rhythm of the meal slowed the evening, stretched it. Lena found herself aware of small things. The way Theo's knee angled toward hers beneath the table, the way his fingers brushed hers once when they reached for the bread at the same time. The contact was brief. Her body remembered it anyway. "This is the part," she said lightly, "where you tell me why you really volunteered for the auction." He did not smile this time. "I already told you. You told me you were serious. And you think that's incomplete. I think people rarely do things for one reason," she said. He considered that, then nodded. "Fair." He took a sip of wine before continuing. "I volunteered because I wanted a reason to ask you out that you couldn't professionally deflect," he said calmly. "And because I wanted you to see how I operate when I commit to something." Her fork paused midair. "You engineered a public scenario to force a private conversation." "Yes, that's manipulative." "It's strategic," he replied. "And I didn't force anything. You still said yes." She set her fork down slowly. "I said yes to coffee, and then to dinner." She met his gaze. "You're very comfortable with escalation." "I'm comfortable with pacing," he said. "There's a difference." The warmth between them shifted, sharpened. "Tell me something real," she said suddenly. "Something you wouldn't say in a boardroom." He did not hesitate. "I don't date casually," he said, "and I don't chase people who aren't interested." Her pulse kicked. "And yet," she said. "And yet," he agreed, "you are." The words settled into her like heat. She took a slow breath. "Interest doesn't guarantee compatibility." "No," he said, "but it invites exploration." Silence stretched. Not awkward. Charged. The server cleared plates. Dessert menus were offered. Lena shook her head. "I don't need sugar," she said. Theo smiled slightly. "Noted." They left the restaurant together, stepping into the cool evening air. The city hummed around them, distant traffic, lights reflecting off glass and water. They walked without touching. That restraint was starting to feel deliberate. At the corner, Theo stopped. "This is where I ask," he said quietly. "Ask what?" "If I can kiss you." The simplicity of it stole her breath. She looked at him, really looked, the patience in his posture. the lack of expectation in his expression. "Yes," she said. He did not rush. He stepped closer slowly, giving her time to change her mind. When his hand finally came to rest at her waist, it was gentle, grounding. His other hand brushed her cheek, thumb warm against her skin. The kiss was unhurried, soft at first, exploratory. His mouth moved against hers with quiet intention, as if listening for her response. When she leaned into him, when her fingers curled into the front of his coat, he deepened it slightly. Heat spread through her, low and insistent. He pulled back first. "Still okay," he murmured. She nodded, breath uneven. "Yes." He kissed her again, a little longer this time before stepping back. "Good night, Lena. Good night, Theo." He did not follow her home, did not suggest it, did not test the boundary she had not explicitly stated but clearly held. As she walked away, her body buzzed with awareness, with want, with the slow realization that control did not have to mean denial. Behind her, Theo watched her go, satisfied not because he had taken something, but because he had been invited to stay. The terms were still in place. The tension was growing, and both of them knew the next choice would matter even more than the last. Chapter 4, Escalation Clause. Lena spent the next 3 days doing exactly what she always did when something threatened her equilibrium. She worked. She arrived early, left late, filled her calendar with back-to-back meetings and follow-ups that left no room for reflection. She answered emails with crisp efficiency. She reviewed budgets. She corrected vendor contracts with ruthless clarity. She did not think about Theo Bennett's mouth. She did not think about the way he had asked before kissing her, voice low and steady, as if the question itself mattered as much as the answer. She absolutely did not think about how easily she had said yes. By the 4th day, denial had lost its edge. Her phone buzzed while she was reviewing floral invoices. She glanced at the screen despite herself. "Theo, no pressure, just checking in." She stared at the message longer than necessary. "Lena, checking in about what?" The reply came a few minutes later, unhurried. "Whether you'd like to see me again. Direct. No manipulation, no theatrics." She leaned back in her chair, eyes closing briefly. "Define C, 3 dots. Pause. Dinner at my place, or a walk, or nothing if nothing feels better." Her pulse ticked up. Her place implied intimacy, privacy, the absence of neutral ground. She typed, erased, typed again. "Dinner. But I leave when I say I leave." Of course, that was it. No pushback, no attempt to negotiate more, which somehow made the invitation heavier. Theo's apartment overlooked the river, glass and concrete softened by warm lighting and carefully chosen textures. Nothing ostentatious, nothing careless. The space felt designed rather than decorated. Like him. Lena stood just inside the door, coat still on, heels clicking softly against polished concrete. She took in the open kitchen, the low couch, the absence of clutter. "You live here alone," she observed. "Yes." No rotating cast of admirers. A corner of his mouth lifted. "I don't collect people." She removed her coat slowly, deliberately. Beneath it she wore a fitted black dress, simple, sharp, unmistakably intentional. Theo watched without comment. Dinner was already underway. Something rich and aromatic simmered on the stove. He moved with practiced ease, not performative, not showy, just capable. She leaned against the counter, sipping the wine he had poured her. "You cook," she said. "I relax by building things," he replied. "Sometimes those things are meals." They ate at the kitchen island, close enough that she could feel his presence without being touched. The conversation was lighter than before. Music played softly from somewhere unseen. The city glowed beyond the windows. She found herself laughing more easily. That should have been a warning. After dinner, he cleared the plates, rinsed them, and set them aside without ceremony. "Sit," he said gently, nodding toward the couch. She did. He joined her, leaving space between them. The restraint was becoming its own kind of tension, coiling tight. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm assessing. May I ask what conclusion you're approaching? That you're very good at creating a sense of safety." He did not look away. "And that bothers you?" "Yes. Why? Because safety makes people careless." His gaze sharpened slightly. "Or honest." She inhaled slowly. "This is where things usually shift." "In what way?" "Where expectations start to creep in," she said. "Where people assume access." "I haven't assumed anything," he replied. She turned toward him. "You invited me into your home." "With your consent." "And you're sitting very close." "With your consent." "And you want to touch me." A beat. Yes, he said simply. The honesty sent heat flooding through her. But I won't, he continued, unless you want me to. Her breath caught. The room felt smaller suddenly. Quieter. She closed the distance herself, shifting closer until their thighs brushed. The contact sent a jolt through her, sharp and immediate. Theo inhaled, controlled but not unaffected. You're escalating, he said quietly. I know. He turned slightly toward her. Tell me to stop. She met his gaze, saw the restraint there, the deliberate patience. Kiss me, she said instead. This kiss was different from the last. Not exploratory, intentional. His hand came to her waist, fingers warm and steady, pulling her closer until her body aligned with his. The kiss deepened slowly, mouths moving together with unhurried certainty. He tasted of wine and something darker beneath it. She made a soft sound against his mouth before she could stop herself. His grip tightened slightly. She slid her hands up his chest, fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt, feeling the heat of him beneath it. The awareness of his body pressed against hers made her knees weak. He broke the kiss first, forehead resting against hers. Still your choice, he murmured. Yes, she breathed. His mouth traced a slow path along her jaw, down the side of her neck. He paused there, breath warm, waiting. She tilted her head, granting permission without words. The sensation was exquisite, controlled, almost unbearable. Her hands slid into his hair, pulling him back up to her mouth. This time, the kiss was hungrier, less restrained. His hands roamed more freely now, mapping her back, her hips, learning the shape of her with reverent precision. She felt wanted, seen, not consumed, but chosen. That mattered more than she had expected. When his hand slid to her thigh, fingers brushing bare skin where the dress rode up, she gasped softly. He stilled immediately. Tell me, he said quietly. She swallowed, pulse pounding. Don't stop. He did not rush. His touch remained deliberate, controlled, but undeniably intimate. Every movement felt considered, as if he were paying attention not just to her body, but to her reactions. The room hummed with tension, the kind that made her acutely aware of her own breath, her own want. When he finally pulled back, her lips parted, eyes dark. She almost protested, but his expression was steady. You said you leave when you say you leave, he reminded her gently. And I don't want tonight to end because we crossed something too fast. The words landed heavy and unexpected. She laughed softly, breathless. You're stopping. I'm pausing, he said. There's a difference. She studied him, chest rising and falling. This is dangerous, she said. Yes, and you're enjoying it. Very much. She stood, smoothing her dress, grounding herself with visible effort. Walk me out, she said. He did. At the door, she turned, hand on the handle. This doesn't make me predictable, she said. He smiled faintly. It makes you honest. She opened the door, paused, then leaned in and kissed him once more. Brief, intense, final. Then she was gone. Theo closed the door slowly behind her, pulse steady, patience intact. Lena walked down the hall with her heart racing, body buzzing, control shaken but not shattered. The escalation had begun, and neither of them was pretending otherwise. Chapter 5. Controlled Burn. Lena woke the next morning with her body already ahead of her mind. That was new. Usually she woke clear, oriented, brain first, body second. Today, awareness bloomed low and warm before logic had time to assemble itself. The memory of Theo's hands at her waist, the deliberate pause in his touch, the way he had stopped not because he had to, but because he chose to. Because he had respected the boundary, even when she had been trembling on the edge of inviting him to ignore it. She lay still, staring at the ceiling of her apartment, sheets twisted around her legs, and let the sensation without indulging it. That was important. Indulgence led to mess. Mess led to loss of control. And yet, she rolled onto her side, exhaled slowly, and acknowledged the truth she had been skirting for days. She wanted him, not as a concept, not as a flirtation, as a presence, as a pressure in her life she had chosen rather than managed. That distinction mattered. By mid-morning, her calendar was already full. A site walkthrough, a vendor dispute, a client call that ran 10 minutes over because someone had failed to read the contract she had written in plain language. She handled all of it efficiently. But her phone sat on her desk, screen dark, louder in its silence than any notification. She told herself she would not be the first to reach out. She lasted until lunchtime. You were right. The response came quickly. About which part, she smiled despite herself. That pacing is different from escalation. A pause. Then, I'm glad you see it. Her fingers hovered. I'm not used to people stopping when I don't ask them to. 3 dots. Longer this time. That sounds exhausting, she swallowed. It is. The phone buzzed almost immediately. Would you like to come over tonight? No agenda, no expectations. Dinner again if you want, or silence. Her pulse kicked. She checked her calendar reflexively, as if looking for permission from herself. It was open after 7. She typed, Lena, I come. I leave when I say. Always. This time, she arrived with less armor and more awareness. She wore jeans, dark and fitted, and a soft sweater that clung just enough to remind her she was not at work. Her hair was loose again. She had stopped pretending that was accidental. Theo opened the door and smiled, slower than before, as if he were savoring the sight of her, rather than reacting to it. Hi, he said. Hi. No rush, no grab, just a shared moment of recognition. They ate takeout this time, cartons spread across the kitchen island, wine poured without ceremony. The ease of it lulled her, softened the sharp edges of anticipation into something warmer. After dinner, they did not immediately move to the couch. They stood near the window instead, city lights reflecting off the glass, their reflections overlapping faintly. This feels different, Lena said. Yes, Theo agreed. Explain. You're not braced, he said. You're present. She considered that. And you. I'm exactly where I want to be. That admission settled low and heavy. She turned toward him. I don't want to rush into something just because it feels good. I don't either. And I don't want this to become an escape from my life. It won't, he said. It can be an addition, if you let it. The word let lingered. She stepped closer, closing the space herself. Her hand rested lightly against his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath it. You're very steady, she murmured. I've had practice, he said. With what? With waiting. Her breath caught slightly. She kissed him. This kiss carried the weight of the evening before, but it was warmer now. Less restrained. Her body leaned into his without hesitation, fingers sliding up into his hair, tugging gently. His hands settled at her waist, thumbs brushing slow, grounding circles that made her knees weaken. She made a soft sound against his mouth, more breath than voice. He responded immediately, deepening the kiss, mouth opening to her with a quiet groan that sent heat flaring through her. The contact felt like permission given and taken at the same time. They moved together toward the couch without speaking, as if drawn by gravity rather than decision. He sat first, then pulled her gently down onto his lap, positioning her sideways so she could feel the solid heat of him without being overwhelmed by it. Her body reacted instantly. She did not pretend otherwise. His hand slid along her back, firm and warm, one hand settling at the curve of her hip. He kissed her again, slower now, savoring, as if he were memorizing her reactions. When his mouth left hers and traced along her jaw, down the sensitive line of her throat, she gasped softly, fingers tightening in his sweater. Still okay, he murmured. Yes, she breathed. His mouth followed the line of her collarbone, lingering there, teeth grazing lightly before soothing the spot with his tongue. The sensation sent a shiver through her, sharp and immediate. She shifted on his lap without thinking, seeking friction. He noticed. His hands tightened briefly, then stilled. Careful, he said quietly. I'm still listening. She pressed her forehead to his shoulder, breathing hard. I know. He kissed her hair, slow and grounding. You don't have to perform here, he said. You don't have to manage me. That was the most dangerous thing he could have said. She pulled back, meeting his gaze. Then touch me. The invitation hung there, explicit in its simplicity. He did. His hands moved with deliberate intent now, exploring the curve of her waist, the slope of her hip, the solid line of her thigh. Each touch felt considered, as if he were asking a question and waiting for her body to answer. It did. Her breath quickened. Her body arched subtly into his hands. The heat between them built, slow and relentless, a controlled burn rather than a flash. When his hand slid beneath the hem of her sweater, skin to skin, she inhaled sharply. He paused. Tell me if you want me to stop, he said. I won't, she replied. He did not rush. That was the part that undid her. The patience, the attention, the way he seemed to be enjoying the process as much as the promise of what came next. Time blurred. The city hummed outside. Inside, Lena felt herself loosen in ways she had not anticipated, letting herself be held, touched, wanted, without immediately cataloging the consequences. Eventually, she pulled back first, breathless, flushed, eyes dark. If we keep going, she said, I won't want to leave. Theo nodded, understanding immediately. Then we stop here. She stared at him. You're very good at stopping. I'm better at starting things that last, he said. The words settled into her chest, heavy and warm. She stood, smoothing her sweater, grounding herself again. I should go. He rose with her, not protesting. At the door, she hesitated, hand on the handle. This feels like a risk, she said. Yes. And you're willing to take it. I already am. She leaned in and kissed him again. Deeper this time, unrestrained, letting herself feel the heat without following it over the edge. Then she pulled back. Good night, Theo. Good night, Lena. She left with her body buzzing, her mind racing, and the unmistakable realization that control did not have to mean isolation. The burn was controlled, but it was growing. And for the first time in a long while, Lena Marquez was not sure she wanted to put it out. Chapter 6. The Winning Bid. Lena knew the moment she woke that the balance had shifted. It was not dramatic. There was no sudden clarity, no cinematic certainty. It was quieter than that, heavier, like a weight that had been redistributed rather than removed. She lay in bed, morning light spilling across the ceiling, and let herself acknowledge what she had been circling for weeks. This was no longer just tension. It was direction. She dressed for work with more care than usual, not out of vanity but intention. Clean lines, soft fabric, shoes she could walk in without armor. When she caught her reflection in the mirror, she paused. She looked like herself. Not the version that managed rooms or negotiated contracts, but the one that existed before the performance, before the constant vigilance. That was new. At the office, the day moved fast. Meetings stacked, calls overlapped. She handled all of it with practiced ease, but beneath the efficiency ran a quiet undercurrent of anticipation. She did not check her phone. She did not need to. It buzzed just after 3. Can I see you tonight? No qualifiers, no hedging, just the question. Her fingers hovered, then typed. Yes, a pause. At my place or yours? Her breath caught. Choice again. Mine. The reply came slower this time. I'll be there at 7. She had not brought many people into her apartment over the years. It was her refuge. Clean, orderly, every object chosen with purpose. The space reflected the life she had built for herself, contained and controlled. Theo arrived exactly on time. When she opened the door, he looked at her for a long moment without speaking, as if taking in not just her but the context she was offering him. You're inviting me in? He said quietly. Yes. Thank you. He stepped inside, not touching her, not crowding the space. He let her lead him through the apartment, eyes attentive, respectful. This feels very you, he said. That's the point. They moved to the kitchen. She poured wine. He watched her hands, the familiar efficiency of her movements. You're nervous, he observed. She arched a brow. You're perceptive. I'm careful, he corrected. She handed him a glass, fingers brushing briefly against his. Sit, she said. They took seats across from each other at the small dining table. The air between them was charged, but steady. This was not the frantic heat of anticipation. This was something deeper. You asked to see me, she said. Why tonight? He did not hesitate. Because I didn't want this to drift into something undefined, and because I wanted to know if we were still choosing each other. Her chest tightened. We've been choosing, she said, carefully. Yes, he agreed. But care can become avoidance. She considered that. You're asking for clarity. I'm asking for direction, he said. Not promises, not timelines, just honesty. She took a slow breath. This started as a date, she said. Then it became more. And now it feels like something I don't want to compartmentalize, she admitted, which is terrifying. His gaze softened. You don't have to give up control, he said. You just don't have to carry it alone. Silence settled, thick but not uncomfortable. She stood first, crossing the space between them. He rose as well, meeting her halfway. She placed her hands on his chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath her palms. I don't want to perform here, she said quietly. I don't want to manage you. You don't have to, he replied. And I don't want to be rushed into something just because it feels good. I won't rush you. She searched his face for impatience. Found none. That was the moment. She kissed him. Not tentative, not cautious, certain. The kiss carried everything they had built, the weeks of restraint and permission layered over want. His hands came to her waist, firm and grounding, pulling her closer without overwhelming her. She felt the heat of him, the solid reality of his presence, and leaned into it willingly. When the kiss deepened, it did so naturally, mouths moving together with a familiarity that felt earned rather than rushed. She breathed him in, aware of the way her body responded without panic, without bracing. This was not loss of control. It was choice. They moved together toward the couch, shedding layers not in haste but with intention. Every touch was deliberate, every pause a check-in rather than a hesitation. The room filled with the quiet sounds of shared breath, of fabric shifting, of the city humming beyond the windows. Lena let herself feel, not just the physical heat, but the emotional weight of being seen and met without expectation. She let herself be held, kissed, touched with care and certainty, and when she responded, it was without calculation. Time stretched. When they finally rested, tangled together on the couch, the world felt quieter, steadier. Theo brushed his thumb slowly along her arm, not absent-minded but present. "How do you feel?" he asked. She considered. "Grounded," she said, "and a little exposed." He nodded. "Both make sense." She shifted, turning to face him fully. "I don't know what this looks like long term." "I don't need you to," he said. "I just need you to stay honest." She met his gaze. "I can do that." "Then that's enough." They sat in silence for a while, the weight of the evening settling into something comfortable rather than heavy. Later, when he stood to leave, she walked him to the door. "This isn't the end of the auction," she said lightly. He smiled. "No, but I think the winning bid has been placed." She laughed softly, genuine. He leaned in and kissed her once more, slow and unhurried. "Good night, Lena." "Good night, Theo." When the door closed behind him, she leaned against it, exhaling. She did not feel depleted. She felt expanded. The auction had started as spectacle, a performance, a transaction. What remained was something quieter and far more valuable. Not a win, a choice. And Lena Marquez knew, with a clarity that surprised her, that she would make it again.